situation of misreporting of the original results occurred, how it was corrected, so it did not affect the outcomes. Essentially what happened is you have a small county in the upper peninsula of Michigan with a clerk there who happens to be a Republican, and they had 17 scanners, I believe. And in one scanner, she'd forgotten to add a school board race. So she called her vendor, which I believe is called Election Source, on Saturday and said, hey guys, I need you to come here and add this particular race back to this election so that people could vote on it. They reprinted their ballots because they have hand-marked ballots there for that particular precinct. So Election Source said, okay, here's your new database. Now remember, you have a new universal database for your county, which means you have to burn new media, not just for your one precinct, but for all of the precincts, okay? So what happened was she just did the one precinct. And in doing so, the tabulators themselves, the scanners themselves, all saw the ballots they thought they needed to see, and they scanned properly. So they got the results. When they close down the election, you get a tape off, and it shows you what the votes were. Now the situation came up because she has 17 scanners, and she has one database. Now, the database she has, only the one new scanner is aligned with that database. The other 16 are not. So I want you to think about it this way. If anybody's worked with an Excel spreadsheet and you put in formulas, and then your formulas all work, and then you add a column, the formulas all go to crap. They just make no sense. The numbers go different places. So the database could not recognize what it was looking at. And obviously they had people who were getting zero results when they were looking at it on their election night reporting system because of the way this happened. They realized it very quickly. They took those numbers down. I believe they hand input into the EMS from the tapes, because the tabulators, the scanners, did everything right. This was just a simple reporting issue because of an error, because she forgot to change her media out. That is not a glitch. That's not a software issue. That's a human being who made a mistake under trying circumstances. The county has 44,000 people, and it's not very resourced. That's one. So there is no software issue with the Dominion software. I think some people saw some very entertaining video of some people dumpster diving in Spalding County and looking for quote-unquote ballots. There were no ballots there. We sent investigators down. What they found was empty security envelopes, so there was nothing there that affected the outcome of the election. It made for good video, but didn't actually have any there on that front. The issue with the Gwinnett ballots cast being almost twice as much as what was shown as the overall vote. The issue is, many of y'all who are from Georgia understand that under the National Voting Rights Act, Gwinnett is the one county in Georgia that has to use two languages, Spanish and English. In doing so, essentially they have to double the size or double the number of their pages on their ballots. So common sense kind of made us realize this, that in the report it says ballots cast, it's really pages scanned. And we've already talked to Dominion about the fact that language needs to be changed, and the fact that it's not exactly double is because sometimes people just turn in the front page. And they just want to vote for president, that's it. They don't care about the rest of it, and they leave it behind. So that's where that comes from. So there is no double ballots vote cast in Gwinnett. Why is the Gwinnett count going slowly? What was the issue? Their results were all uploaded on Tuesday night. What they had was a situation where they tried to make something work better, and they ordered an additional adjudication module. Now, in this particular case, the adjudication module was not being used to figure out, to discern a person's vote. It was being used to get the write-ins off of the BMD's ballots, okay? Because there's no way to get that off of the scanner, so you have to go through the adjudication module, because in the presidential race we do have some certified write-in vote candidates, so you have to have those votes for your final counts. Now the issue they had, and this was truly a configuration issue. It's not a software issue, not a software glitch, it was a configuration issue, where they have a single adjudication server, and that server was then going to multiple workstations. Now to send out the ballot images on that, they have to use something called Microsoft Q, or MSQ. Now the MSQ configuration for this was just done incorrectly. Dominion said, yep, we messed that up, our fault, and that's what held them up. So in doing that, it sort of slowed down their server. And the secondary part of this is because they had so many extra ballots more than anybody else, and so much more data on those ballots because they had more information on them. there's a lot more white space on a standard ballot because they don't have as much printing on it, so it requires much more memory. It just slowed everything down. So an engineer came from Denver to optimize their server. Everything went through on Sunday really well, and they have now uploaded their final items. The Spalding poll pad issue, where somebody supposedly called or showed up, or it was a man or a woman or a person named Crystal, because the story kept on moving. Essentially, here's the things that are the facts that we know. According to the log files, nothing touched the poll pads after October 31st. That was the last poll pad update. Okay, so that is what we know. That's what I can say. So there was nothing that was done to the system after that date. So the night before, nothing was happening to the system. Saturday night, which was so much fun after the Georgia game, I got to drive down to State Farm Arena because Fulton found an issue. We didn't know what it was, but we made sure immediately. We had our monitor on site. Carter Jones was there. We had an investigator on site immediately. The secretary dispatched Deputy Secretary Jordan Fuchs to the scene as well, because again, anybody who's grown up in this state, in this area, knows there's just Fulton being Fulton sometimes, and we know that many of national media and all the campaigns will be wondering what's going on, so we wanted to make sure we had boots on the ground to keep an eye on the situation. What happened there was, again, bad process. They uploaded results on Friday. They then did the reconciliation after. In general, when you're about to tell the world these are the numbers, when everybody around the world and the country is looking at them, you probably want to do your reconciliation prior to uploading them. They did not. And unfortunately, the gamble did not pay off. They figured out hours later that the reconciliation did not match. Something to the tunes of, and forgive my math, I'm off on this, I'll come back to correct it. I think it was 484 total votes that they were off, and it was all inside their provisional bucket. Okay? So they went back there about 3 o'clock. And inside of that, the first thing they discovered was there was 126 of those provisional ballots that were scanned into the absentee module. So what that means is, in the original reporting, the absentees were 126 higher and the provisionals were 126 lower. So from that was the first thing they found. Then, while they were on site at State Farm Arena, they discovered there was a box of 358 damaged ballots. Because what happens is, when you vote a provisional, you have to put it inside a provisional ballot, a provisional envelope, with an explanation as to what the issue is, signatures by people so you can identify it, and then to figure out if it needs to be verified or just counted. So what they do is they put that through an automatic opening machine. It has a little knife that goes through and opens it up. Now, on occasion, that knife will slice the ballot. You cannot scan a damaged ballot. So the normal process is you take those ballots and you replicate them on a BMD, and then you scan those ballots. That process should have been done on Friday. It was not. So when they got there, they discovered these. They did the replication. Republican and Democrat monitors were there in the room. Like I said, our monitor was there. And the process is here. It went on a very long time. They got there at 3. We sort of tag teamed. They got some people in and out of there, but there was always people on site. I was there until about 10:30 myself. And the process took a long time. And I don't have a good answer as to why it took so long, but it did. So they went through that process. They scanned